Okay, good morning. Members, good morning. Those with us, joining us, Happy New Year. And we'll begin by announcing this is the January 13th hearing for the Jetty Committee. And let's review the agenda. Members, there are 3 bills on file. We have one bill on the consent calendar, that is AB 1033. Small business regulatory definition is on the proposed consent calendar. We have some supplemental documents before you. We don't have any support or opposition for this hearing on any of the bills that are listed. In regards to other announcements, before we get started, I wanted to recognize Joel Ayala, who is in the audience this morning. Mr. Ayala has just accepted the position of Executive Director at the California Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, so if we want to just recognize him this morning, and thank you for joining us. I also want to highlight 2 special handouts prepared by the Jetty staff, Ms. Tony Simons. The first is the current edition of the Fast Facts on California's economy. Each member should have a copy at their desk, plus copies are on the handout table. The second document is the Jetty Committee report out from our November informational hearing at the California Economic Summit. The purpose of the hearing was to examine California's expanding economic opportunity gap and to explore strategies for creating a more inclusive economy. As just one example of why the state needs to take action coming out of the recession, California consistently ranked at the top of states in both GDP growth and per capita income. At the same time, poverty in California increased in the state, currently being ranked as having the highest rate in the U.S., including 22% of all Californian children. Clearly, a new approach to economic and community development is needed, one that supports economic growth for all Californians. The primary hearing recommendation was set to an equity standard for major new investments. This means equity in terms of geography, race, ethnicity, gender, and even age. The hearing background paper identified 3 current state initiatives to apply equity-based analysis, climate change investment, infrastructure-related funding through the legislator's special sessions, implementation of the Federal Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. Committee staff are already working on follow-up legislation. I encourage members to contact me and or our staff regarding these particular efforts. Ms. Brown, welcome this morning, and I want to thank you for hosting us in Ontario for our hearing in November, and I defer a couple minutes to you before we jump into the agenda if you wanted to touch on anything that was covered there in Ontario in your great district.
Well, I was very, very pleased that the Jetty Committee held the hearing in our region, and we saw what the issues were, and we're able to work on them. And our chair is just a fantastic leader in this effort, especially bringing jobs and business to the Inland Empire. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you for hosting us. With that, we do have a full quorum before us, and so Matt, will you want to take the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A quorum is present. Garcia, Chair, Eduardo Garcia.
Present.
Vice Chair Kim.
Present.
Assemblymember Bro.
Here.
Assemblymember Brown.
Here.
Assemblymember Chow.
Here.
Assemblymember Chu.
Here.
Assemblymember Gibson,
Here.
Assemblymember Irwin.
Here.
Assemblymember Mathis.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Now we will take an action on the consent calendar. That is item AB 1033, Small Business Regulatory Reform.
Move the consent agenda.
There's a motion by Assemblymember Brown, a second by Assemblymember Gibson. Motion and a second. I will ask for a roll call on this item. Secretary?
Chair Garcia.
Aye.
Chair Garcia, aye. Vice Chair Kim.
Aye.
Vice Chair Kim, aye. Assemblymember Bro. Aye. Bro, aye. Assemblymember Brown.
Aye.
Brown, aye. Assemblymember Chow. Aye. Chow, aye. Assemblymember Chu.
Aye.
Chu, aye. Assemblymember Gibson?
Aye.
Gibson, aye. Assemblymember Irwin?
Aye.
Irwin, aye. Assemblymember Mathis?
Aye.
Mathis, aye.
Okay, consent calendar is passed unanimously. Now I will ask Assemblymember Jackie Irwin, and she'll present the next item on the agenda. Item 3.
Chair and members, I would like to start by accepting the committee amendments, and we'll add them in appropriations. AB 1348 is a bill that will help California bring back more of our federal tax dollars through the competitive grant process.
Move the bill.
According to the National Conference of State Legislatures, California received over $66 billion in federal grants in 2013, which is well below the national average compared to GDP. AB 1348 would address this disparity by establishing a federal grants administrator to coordinate and maximize federal grant opportunities for the state and local governments in California. 10 years ago, the state of Maryland established a federal grants office, and since then has continually outpaced other states in securing federal grants and supporting jobs and offsetting other state budget funds. In addition to the dollar-driven mission of the Federal Grants Administrator, the bill will create a critical resource for local governments pursuing their own grants through a point-of-contact network amongst state agencies, local governments, universities, and foundations. The administrator within the Office of Planning and Research will work to identify employees in state agencies with expertise in the federal grant process and conduct trainings to increase expertise, track and report on the metrics of success, and maintain the federal grant information on the OPR website. AB 1348 will improve channels of communication among state agencies and with local governments and increase the amount of federal dollars brought back to California. Thank you, and I ask for your aye vote.
Okay, we do have a motion by Assemblymember Brown, second by Assemblymember Gibson. Any questions from members of the committee?
I would just like to add that this is a fantastic bill, and it will help not only the city of San Bernardino, but it will help the 5 cities in my district to be able to access some of the grants that we haven't been able to do before now, and we'll have help from the state. Thank you so much for bringing this forward, Ms. Irwin.
All right, any other comments? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone wishing to speak in support of this bill? Do we have anyone?
Yes.
All right, please come forward. Please come forward, yeah.
Joel Ayala, Executive Director for the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce. Speaking in support of this bill, we're especially pleased with the amendment. We would work with the author's office as well to address the scope of the administrator to ensure that there is some accountability around matching funds and to how that's taken into effect, and that's the state is maximizing those opportunities as well. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in support? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Okay, we do have a motion and a second, again by Assemblymember Brown and Assemblymember Gibson. If there aren't any questions from the committee, I would ask the Secretary to please call the roll.
Motion do pass and be re-referred to Committee on Appropriations. Chair Garcia?
Aye.
Garcia, aye. Vice Chair Kim?
Aye.
Kim, aye. Assemblymember Bro?
Aye.
Bro, aye. Assemblymember Brown?
Aye.
Brown, aye. Assemblymember Chow? Chow, aye. Assemblymember Chu?
Aye.
Chu, aye. Assemblymember Gibson?
Aye.
Gibson, aye. Assemblymember Irwin?
Aye.
Irwin, aye. Assemblymember Mathis?
Aye.
Mathis, aye.
Okay, the committee votes unanimously to move AB 1348.
Thank you very
thank
much.
All right, and we will present our bill, Vice Chair.
Let's see.
Good morning, members. Madam Vice Chair, I present to you AB 1196. This updates the role and authorities of the California Commission on Economic Development for the purpose of kickstarting the reestablishment of this important economic stakeholder advisory board. The commission is chaired by the Lieutenant Governor and consists of 17 members appointed by the Governor and the legislature. The
Move the
Commission
bill.
is charged with the task of providing a forum on economic development-related conversations between the state and private sectors. Key issues addressed in the past include infrastructure development, manufacturing, and role of innovation in modern economy. These are long-term conversations which cannot be fully addressed by one person, one industry, or a policy summit. The Commission is uniquely designed to serve as a bipartisan forum for the range of stakeholders that can compromise the California economy. I ask for your aye vote.
Okay.
Happy to answer any questions.
Sure. Do any members on the dais have any questions to the author?
As I was reading this, I was asking my staff about the members and how the members, if there are any, have the members already been appointed, or will they be appointed?
They have not been appointed. The governor has 10 designees that he can appoint, 3 from each house of the legislature. And I, as a member of this committee, get the opportunity to be part of that committee. And we are also asking that we put our congressional delegates to work and consider them as an appointee when we're looking at the federal-state collaboration for economic development. I think the bill that we just heard by Ms. Jackie Irwin is a perfect example of that. The last time the committee met, or the commission, was in 2013. And so we're trying to get this up and going again.
Well, the reason that I asked the question is because I wondered how each region is going to have representation. We said bipartisan, but are we going to also go up and down the state and look at all the regions so that the inland region will be covered?
So I know that through the membership of the legislature, we'll have members from throughout the state. And currently, our staff here, Tony, points out that there are 3 members of the assembly that have been designated already. That is Mr. Assemblymember Cooley, Assemblymember Burke, and then on the Senate side we have Mr. Mendoza, who chairs the Labor Committee, excuse me, and then we have a vacant spot on the Senate side. As I mentioned, the governor appoints 10 specific individuals to this seat.
And that's why I'd asked the question, had they already been appointed?
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I do have a question to the author. I know the current composition of the commission is 17 members, and we talk about the commission not meeting since 2013 due to a lack of quorum. Now we're talking about adding 3 more, or asking the governor to appoint 3 more congressional delegation. So for clarification, the question to you is, will the 3 additional congressional members to serve on the commission be in addition to the 17, making it total 20? Is that, I see nod from our staff, Tony. Is that it?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, would that make it harder or easier to have a quorum to have the meeting, since that was the main problem of not meeting since 2013? Because what is the quorum? Is it 2/3 or just simple majority of 51%?
As I understand correctly, it's 51%, and what we're doing is allowing for the commission to convene via teleconference and other means of not requiring us to be physically present at the specific meeting. So making it that much more available for the appointed members to participate.
What is the deadline of the appointments that needs to be completed, or what are we trying to? Is there a deadline for? Are we asking the governor to appoint the 3 additional ones and then fill the rest from the original 17 by certain deadlines so we can get going? Because this is such a great legislation, and I will support it, but I do want to make sure that we are actually doing it.
There isn't a deadline, and the idea by putting this bill forward and put it in front of the governor is with the hopes of initiating the interest of getting this committee or this commission up and going. But if necessary, to put a deadline so that we all have a expectation of when we get started, I'm happy to include that.
If we don't have the full 20, if the legislation goes through, if we do have all 20, this 51% to make the quorum will be about 11 people. and that would make it more flexible because we're trying to do it through the teleconferencing.
Yeah.
Right, that's the goal. Okay.
I mean, the goal overall is to get the governor to make his appointments to get the commission up and going. I think that's been the drawback here. We've not been able to get any discussion going because of the lack of these appointments being made by the governor.
Okay. Do any other members have questions to the author? Okay. Do we
Respectfully
have
ask for your
anyone
aye
in
vote.
the audience who wants to speak in support? Joel?
Joel Ayala, Executive Director, California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce, in support of this, and having been participated on this commission multiple times and watching multiple false starts, we applaud the author for his work on this and to get to recognize economic development as an important part of California's economy, and thank the Vice Chair as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more people speaking in support of the bill? Do we have anyone speaking in opposition? Seeing none, hearing none, we would like to go ahead and...
Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. All right. Well, I'd like to ask the Secretary to call the... We have a motion by Mr. Gibson, chaired by Mr. Mathis. Okay. We can take the call now.
Motion do pass and be re-referred to Committee on Appropriations. Chair Garcia?
Aye.
Garcia, aye. Vice Chair Chim?
Aye.
Kim, aye. Assemblymember Bro? Bro, aye. Assemblymember Brown? Brown, aye. Assemblymember Chow? Chow, aye. Assemblymember Chu? Chu, aye. Assemblymember Gibson? Gibson, aye. Assemblymember Irwin? Irwin, aye. Assemblymember Mathis? Mathis, aye.
Okay, the bill is passed.
Thank
Do we
you.
send it to... This is it. Okay, thank you. We'll have the chairman back.
I think that concludes the committee hearing for Jetty. You all have a wonderful afternoon, and thank you very much for participating. Meeting is adjourned.